What's up, my good people? And we are back for episode 3. And in this episode, I am gonna show you guys, or kind of put the window frames of this bodega diorama. So I already cut these two that are gonna go on either side. This one's all cut. So what I did here is, luckily, I because this can be a little difficult. A little tip for you guys: always try to cut the windows to an even type number. 9.5, 5 inches, 4 inches, 3 inches. It just makes it easier when you're cutting the framing for it versus something that's a little longer than 3.5 inches. You know what I mean? Because if you're looking at a ruler, and 3 inches is pretty simple, but if you go past 3.25 inch and you go there, it just can be a little difficult at times. I found it in my particular diorama making journey. So I always try to make them as round as possible in terms of numbers. So in this particular case, this window is 9.5 inches long, so that when I had to figure out the middle point, I knew that it was going to be 4.75, and that's a pretty easy way to do it. In this case, these are 3 inches across, these are 5 inches across. So we're gonna just cut this piece here real quick. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of tacky glue in the back and a little bit on either side, and then I'll take just a little bit of glue gun so that I can just kind of set it. Because the problem, what I used to do is I used to just do all glue gun, and then the problem is that when you do it, if the glue gun spills or the glue spills outside of where you kind of set that up, then it can be a little messy. And if it spills in the back, then when I go put the window, it's going to be a little bit of a bump. So I'm trying to just do it more with tacky glue. So I have those two pieces on, then I'll put these two pieces on the side, and my windows will pretty much be done, and they're ready for me. Jesus, what is happening outside? It'll be ready to put that glass nice and. What's up, everyone? And so the mission now is to create this awning using polystyrene, the 0.5 millimeter, using this to create this awning. So as I went to bed last night, I kept thinking, how am I going to make this happen? Generally, here I go into generally again. In the past, I have framed it with balsa wood, which is worked out fine. But it's usually a longer process, and it's a process where you have to be careful that you build it exactly right. So what I decided as I sat here, and I was out and about yesterday, and I took a picture of this at a local business near me, as I have to create kind of this part that holds the grate that goes up and down. I'm gonna do like some grates that are maybe hanging down that low, but I do have to create this part. So I thought, you know what? I think what I'll do is integrate the awning build into this and make this the plug-in piece. So I'm going to cut that out of foam and lean and glue the awning onto that piece, so the building of the frame is minimal, and it's more set up to kind of keep this part steady, right? And I'll obviously put some side pieces as well, but the bulk of it, the weight of it, will be leaning on that part of the section that holds the grate. So I think I've never done that before, so this will be a new thing for me, but it should work out better. I think it'll make this piece more secure, because either way, this piece was going to be a plug-in piece. I mean, I can't build it permanently, and so when you ship and what have you, it'll break. So I feel better about it because it'll be a more secure piece, because it'll have this piece kind of glued on to the piece that's going to go there. So that's good. And not only that, but that piece gets this angle there and there. So I just have to angle that piece a little bit up, or not angled as deep, where this piece can be just the regular angle. That piece will be angled a little higher so that this can lean on it and it won't be too low. So it won't kind of look like this. I'll angle in a way where it kind of looks the normal angle of this awning. So that's the experiment. Let's see if I can make it happen. In the meantime, I do have to go outside and spray paint these pieces first. Alright, y'all, I'm out. So before I go down and spray paint, so this is kind of my setup. So I set it up this way and I go and I spray paint it. But part of the awning has that little section there that has usually some wording on it. And so what I'm doing here is I am taking some of these letters and using them to kind of set up a stencil situation where I can place the letters now, and then what I'll do is I'll spray paint this piece. So I'll have to cut it to size. So what I did is I already set up kind of a border from the bottom there, and then I'll kind of set up that same border up top, spray paint this in red, and then remove each letter individually. And so because of the white that's set underneath it, it'll kind of be kind of embedded versus putting stickers on this itself, which I could have just done these black stickers on the red, but I feel like, I don't know, I like the look where it's kind of the stenciling is there versus just having these kind of stick out. And these are also paper, so they can kind of get, you know, old and rubbed out, so I just prefer to do it this way. Just wanted to give you guys a quick look at that, and I think I'm ready to go outside and start spray painting this awning. So I'm out here in the back. I had to find a little corner near the dumpster because the wind is crazy, so this is how I gotta do it. But one of the difficulties of spray painting is that it comes with a black stock cap, and the pressure on that cap is usually strong. So as a graffiti artist, I've learned what caps to use to make it kind of a softer spray, and this is a perfect cap for that. And what you want to do is you don't want to go heavy at first. You kind of want to give it some light sprays, give it a little bit of a mist, let that dry for a few seconds, and go back. And you do this a couple of times until you kind of get the coverage that you want. I think the mistake a lot of people make is they go like right in, and it's too much. So you want to kind of give it a little bit of a spray. And in this case, I also have to kind of catch those little corners as well. So just wanted to give you guys a quick look of how I go about spray painting parts of my diorama. And I live in the city, so it's always going to be noisy out here. Alright, let's see what it looks like once it's all built up. Alright, so I spray painted these and let them sit out for a little bit outside so they can cure properly, and it looks pretty good. Not bad at all. Yeah, so basically to remove them, I try my very best to not scratch around the letter, and I just try to get in as close as I can and just peel it off. Alright, so mission somewhat accomplished. I wanted to get these windows done and wanted to get both doors done. I only got one of the doors done, but I also got the awnings done, and I also decided to just work on the sign that's gonna go above the awning. Also finished this window as well, and yeah, I used the same technique that I used here. Painted the whole thing, or put the letters, the sticky letters on, painted the whole thing red, waited for it to dry, and then this morning I did the border for the outside yellow and spray painted that yellow as well. I wanted to make sure that it kind of matches up a little bit. I threw in that border, so I love how cohesive it kind of looks. It's not gonna hang there for me. I'll do a little something. That's cool. But yeah, so I got all that set, and then today what I'm gonna be working on is these 3 pieces and these two pieces that'll be cut up to fit here, as well as the corner, are all going to be like a granite cement, as is the base layer, or the kind of the sidewalk. So these pieces kind of go up here, and then I have to still do the roof, and I have to do another piece for the back. So the idea is to kind of create that gray, and then these little pieces sort of go like this, and I'm just going to do something like this. So these little pieces, this will be in gray as well, and then these pieces will also be in gray coming down the side of it. So I'm gonna take this to work with me and work on it during my break. So when I come back home, I can kind of stick everything on, and then start working on the windows, finish that other door. But I did finish these pieces, or just to show you guys, real quick how it ended up looking. I wanted to kind of be a plug type situation where you peg it in. So created this piece, glued this to the top, and this pegs into that, and that should be easy enough. The challenge now is going to be how I'm going to work on the corner piece here, because the other piece goes right up to here. So I got to figure out how I'm going to work that, but I have an idea as I cut this piece like this, and I'll have to figure out how I'm going to kind of put it together here. So that's the challenge, but you know, I love challenges. And this is where we're at. So this is the last I'll work on this diorama for this particular episode of YouTube. And then on the next episode, I'll have a little more work up in progress. So I'll kind of go through the process with you guys. All right, y'all. Until then, I'm out. Peace. Oh, stay tuned. I have other stuff on this video. It's just not necessary. So because I have been working for the city of Boston, I don't know if you guys know, I've been working for the city of Boston for 20 years come this past January. So I get 5 weeks of vacation per year, about 7 personal days, and because of that, I get to take days off randomly, like today. Today is a nor'easter here in my area, so it's going to be very windy, very rainy, and my commute is about 40 minutes to work. I don't want to drive 40 minutes in this commute. I'm just going to take the day off, but that allows me to work on this bodega diorama. Pause real quick. I remember when I came to see my apartment for the first time and I saw this hallway, I was like, bro, this looks not great. But I knew I was gonna take the apartment because I had very little choice. I was about to be homeless. Luckily, my apartment looked a lot better than the hallway. Alexa, stop. So I'm gonna take the day off today. I'm gonna finish working on that. And this is a new segment that I want to introduce to my channel, and I'm excited about it. I've been thinking about it for quite some time. So I don't know if you guys know, back in the day, before the internet was a thing, the way to get our news about action figures was this magazine called ToyFare that was put out by another magazine called Wizard, the Guide to Comics. These, I think, are from late 90s. I think this is 1997 if I'm... Yeah, 1997 is the first issue. So those first 10 issues, I have 1 through 10, but I'm missing 2. And I'm missing 9, I believe. But I have a total of 32. So what I wanted to do in this segment is, or every single YouTube video I put out, I'm going to go through one of the magazines in order and just pick out kind of my favorite sections of that magazine and share it with you. What I loved about this magazine. So anyway, back to this, as I was just interrupted by a phone call. So one of the things I loved about this magazine is that first of all, Wizard, the Guide to Comics, was the guide to, if you collected sports cards, you know Beckett was the guide to go to, and in this case, Wizard was the guide in terms of pricing and information for upcoming series. And so when they started doing ToyFare, I was excited because this was around 1997, end of 97, and I started officially collecting in 95. Epic front cover with Power of the Force AT-AT, and they just did some photoshopping here to make these vehicles look smaller, I assume. But anyway, let's go through some of my favorite parts of this magazine. So first and foremost, the very first page is crazy because if you wanted to order, there was no internet like it is today, so you would have to kind of go through these different companies like Hanger. There was mail orders, pretty much is what it was. But let's go through everything here. as I bookmarked it. So the first thing is that you would get like sneak peek of what was coming out. In this case, I was pretty excited about this. These ended up being kind of horrible figures, but at the time they were great. And this was kind of the Marvel Comics famous covers, and I loved how look how bad that sculpt is, man. That's horrible. And the articulation wasn't that great either. It's like a single joint. But I loved that Marvel because again, I grew up in an era where G.I. Joe was the action figure that had the articulation, and then Transformers transformed, you know what I mean? So like it was kind of cool that we were in an era where Marvel was starting to drop some stuff. So here they just talk a little bit about who's in the assortment, when it's coming out, and kind of what the deal is. So they would break down what, and then obviously they get into a little more story of it. So I love that. The second part I loved about this magazine was things like the prizes. Yo, this was a prize to count how many Jawas there were, and I literally counted them by writing on each and every single one of them. And clearly I sent out, and I didn't win because I would have remembered winning. But you had to count everything on the page, every Jawa on the page. I don't know if there was any on the entry form, but so I entered the contest. I never won. That's okay. It was a good time. But they would give you the rules of entering. And then 3 here we have, let's see here. At the time, Star Wars with the Power Force were coming back, and it was like the thing at the time. That's what I was hunting for. So here we had a creature feature where they were featuring like all the characters that got very little screen time, or in some cases a little more screen time, but they would break down who they were and where they were in the movie, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, we've come to know characters like Bosk and Zuckuss and Forlom a little more today, but back then they were very you just didn't know who they were. So that was a pretty cool little feature there. And yeah, even this guy who got on for like 3 seconds, Nikto, I love that. Yak Face. So yeah, this was a pretty cool feature. And then switch over to 4. I was never into customizing action figures, but it was so dope that they had a kind of a guide on how to customize action figures, and also like the materials used. I mean, this was pretty dope. This was pretty dope. Everything from the ingredients to build what you want to build. I guess in this case they were building this character here, 2099 Ghost Rider. And so yeah, so they would go through everything, and that was pretty dope, and I love that. And then probably one of my favorite parts of this magazine was always the top 10 hottest action figures. It was like, you know, at the time, I don't know how they compiled this list, but it was the top 10 figures at the time. And clearly Power of the Force was reigning supreme. I love this right here. Goya is such a staple to the Puerto Rican household. Goya, to this day I use seasoning Goya. I still use Adobo by Goya. But this was great because you got to read a little bit about each figure, and it was always a little funny. So it was a pretty, this was always my favorite thing to turn to. And then at the very end they usually had like a kind of a price guide, a little bit of a price guide. I don't think it was extensive enough to cover every action figure out, but you know, it did some McFarlane and some other lines as well, so that was pretty cool. Alright, y'all, and I'm done with episode 1, the initial first episode of ToyFare, and I will be going through issue 3. What did I call episode? What? Issue 1. I'll be going through issue 3 next on the next episode of Al Figures, the Chronicles of Al Figures. I'm just stumbling over my words as I always do. Alright, guys, I'm out. Peace. Oh man, after almost 7 years of living with my roommate, sharing an apartment with him, 2 years prior to that living with Joanne. So this is my first apartment in quite some time, y'all, and I am extremely happy. I'm excited. I'm excited because what this allows me to do, man, look at this closet. Look at the space in this closet. Like, so what this allows me to do is to have my bedroom in this room and then create a living room slash studio. So now all my diorama equipment can be spread out, organized correctly in a much bigger space. My own kitchen, I can just cook away. I'm so amped up. I'm so thankful and excited. Let's fucking go. What's up, Facebook family? So it has been a little over a year since I moved into my new apartment, and I showed you guys a video of my empty apartment when I first moved in. So I figure I update everybody on what the crib looks like a year later. So first and foremost, my bathroom. Was able to put some the shelf here from IKEA for some of my things. It's like marble, art. I got this from the GN show. This is my boy Rob, aka Razoo, and myself, as well as the little piece that hung at the museum. We have my kitchen. So I got a little table, old school table. I think this is like a 70s table. I got my space so I can cook, wash my dishes, my microwave, my coffee maker, my G.I. Joe collection, because y'all already know. I have my living room slash artwork area. But if you can see here, it's almost like this imaginary line where the living room is. Still have my DVD collection behind all that stuff there. Had 4 plants when I began. I'm down to 2. I've killed 2 plants. But over here I have my workspace and I have my art supplies, mostly props for action figure photography, my bookshelf. Then you come over here to my bedroom. There's the kitchen from this angle. Then you come over to the bedroom. So I didn't want to clutter it up like the last place I lived at where I had all the walls covered. I love that I have 12-foot ceilings. But I got my little G.I. Joe corner. I have this corner here that's mostly just boxed action figures and some other things. This is kind of my Marvel wall, which I love how it's kind of coming out, how it's been curated. And apparently I collect popcorn, Marvel popcorn buckets. So I got this recently at the Thunderbolts movie. That was a Cap movie, Deadpool, Wolverine, but those are all popcorn buckets. My TV, my bureau, that little nightstand I thrifted. This is just my G.I. Joe corner. I had 2 D-tops. I sold one to my boy D, kept one. And this is how I have it set up in terms of my bedroom. But probably, oh, and behind the door I have more Marvel. Just kind of in package. And one of my favorite parts of the apartment is the closet. I love my closet. All this is bins back there. Some bins up here. Then I have the sneaker collection, the New Era collection, as well as my clothes, my backpack. I'm back to collecting those, some duffel bags, comic books there in the corner. And yeah, this is what it's looking like. Love my space, very comfortable, love the vibes in it.